So we shall begin with this first chapter, that is solid state. So you all know the difference between the states of matter, correct? We have three states of matter, that is solid, liquid, and then gas. But if you have noticed, most of the states of matter, what we make use is solid. Okay, solids are common then compared to liquid and gases. Most of the things what we have in our day-to-day life application, that is more related to solid than compared to liquid and then gases. Okay, so in this particular chapter you are going to study what is the reason that solid exists. Okay, what is the reason behind it, and what are the different kinds of solids being classified into, what are their properties, and what are their further classification. Okay, in detail, everything you're going to study in this particular chapter. Okay, so let us begin with this. So we are starting with the basic introduction of what are the characteristics of solid. This you have studied from your high school itself. If few of the points you are able to recall, you can just let me know. Okay, you can answer for these questions. So the different characteristics of solid, you know that solid, okay, they have a definite mass, they have definite shape, and then they have definite volume. Okay, so this very primary thing you are about, you all know about this, correct? They have a particular mass, they have shape, and they have volume. Yes, yeah, they are tightly packed, correct? The atoms which are there, okay, they are tightly packed, and you know they are one after the other. There is no much intermolecular spaces. Okay, so here intermolecular forces are strong, and they are short also, means there is no much space between the atoms which are present next to each other. They are tightly packed with each other. Okay, so there is a strong intermolecular force of attraction between them. So that's the reason, one very basic reason why they exist in the solid state. Yes. Okay, next one is, if you talk about the solid, now whatever molecules, now this particular thing here, it can be an atom, it can be molecule, or it can be ions also. So if you take a solid, these particles which are present over there, no, they oscillate about their mean position. Means it doesn't mean that in the solid the atoms doesn't move. They move, but then they move about their mean position. Okay, oscillation happens about their mean position. So these constituent particles which are present over here, they oscillate. Oscillate means they just keep moving. Okay, there is vibrational motion, there is molecular motion, all that happens, but then they happen in that same place itself. So that is the next characteristics of solid. And one more thing, because of the strong intermolecular force and short intermolecular distance between them, they are quite incompressible and they are rigid. Okay, so this is one more reason why the substance which are there, they exist in the solid state. So you can make a note of all these. Yes, let us move on now. Now the next question arises, why these substance exist in the solid state. Okay, so for this, the reason is there are two main net opposing forces. Okay, there are two forces which makes them to exist in the solid state. Okay, the first force which is acting on the solid is the main reason why the compound exists in the solid state. That is because of intermolecular forces. Okay, that intermolecular attraction which is there, the forces which is existing between the two particles. If I have one atom over here, another atom, so there will be a force of attraction which is between them, that makes them to get closer, and due to that force of attraction they exist in the solid state. Okay, one reason is that intermolecular forces. Okay, so intermolecular forces should be very high between the particles to exist them in the solid state. Okay, so these will keep the constituent particles close to each other. Second reason for them is the thermal energy, the second opposing force. Okay, this is the opposing force which is acting opposite, exactly opposite to the intermolecular forces, that is thermal energy. Okay, so how should be the thermal energy when the compound should exist in the solid state, whether it should be very high or it should be very low? Okay, let me tell you what is thermal energy first. Thermal energy is the energy possessed by the constituent particles due to temperature. Okay, due to temperature, whatever energy exists between the particles, that energy is called as thermal energy. Okay, so what this thermal energy will do means, if you supply certain amount of heat to a substance, what will happen? That molecules will take that temperature, and whatever bond is existing between them, that will also break down, correct? No, so what thermal energy does is they keep the constituent particles apart from each other. Okay, so this is exactly acting opposite to the intermolecular forces. Intermolecular force is the force which keeps the constituent particle close to each other, and thermal energy is the one which will keep them apart from each other. So if the compound has to exist in the solid state, that means the intermolecular forces which is there between the particles should be very high, and the thermal energy which is there, the thermal energy has to be very low. Okay, so as you decrease the thermal energy, the particles will come closer by, and when they come closer by, the intermolecular force of attraction between them increases, and then they finally come into a solid state. Okay, see one example over here I've given. If the compound is in the solid state, you know, force of attraction between them is very high. But as you supply the heat, what happens? They acquire the heat energy. So as they take the heat energy, the particles start moving far away from each other. But if you do opposite now, if you start decreasing the temperature, then they will start coming together. Okay, like for example, if you have a gas now, okay, gas, if you cool it down, now solid carbon dioxide, you might have heard about solid carbon dioxide, that is dry ice. Okay, so in the dry ice case, what happens is those gases molecules which are there, yeah, they have high kinetic energy also, and thermal energy is also very high. So if you try to reduce that thermal energy, okay, then that time what happens is the particles will start coming together, and then they will exist in the solid state. So gases can also be converted into a solid by decreasing the thermal energy. Okay, so these are the two forces which makes them to exist in the solid state. Okay, so now let us move on with the classification part. Before that, if you want, you can make a note of that. Yes, we'll start with the classification part. So solids are classified into two categories. One is crystalline solid and the other one is amorphous solid. Okay, so we have two classification for solid, crystalline and amorphous solid. So let us understand now what is the first category as well as the second one. Okay, crystalline solid. See, crystalline solid, you can see here, I have put the picture. So if you see the particles over here, okay, you can see a correct ordered arrangement. Okay, it's properly placed one after the other, well organized. Okay, so if you find this type of arrangement in the particle, which is well organized, okay, we say the particles are arranged in a definite order. Okay, constituent particles. So I said constituent particles can be anything. It can be an atom, it can be molecule, or it can be even ions. So if these are placed in a definite order, okay, then they are called as crystalline solid. Okay, so a compound exists in the crystal state because of their ordered arrangement. So this is important for us, the arrangement which is there between the particles. So crystalline solid examples are like your table salt. Okay, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is the example for this. Any salt, okay, any particular salt which you are taking, they have a correct order arrangement in them. Okay, so that is a crystalline solid. Now moving on with the second one, the second classification is amorphous solid. So if you see the amorphous solid, see this picture, if you observe this picture, you don't find the atoms arranged in a proper order. There is no organization. Okay, we here in local language we say no atracitus. So you can see here and there they are arranged. Okay, it doesn't have a correct arrangement. So if the particles, the constituent particles are not arranged in a correct order, then such solids are called as amorphous solid. Okay, so here example for such a solid is rubber. Rubber is one such example. Then we have plastics. Plastics are also amorphous solid. Even glass, okay, glass also come under this category. Okay, they don't have a correct arrangement. Particles are randomly arranged. So I hope these two classifications are understood. You can make a note, students. Yes, listen here, I will repeat this. So I said the solids which are there, the solids are classified into two categories. One is crystalline solid and the other one is amorphous solid. Okay, so starting with the first one, crystalline solid. in the crystalline solid, if you see the particles, okay, the particles over here are arranged in a proper order. They are organized, okay. The particles which are there, they have a correct arrangement. So here, those will be categorized under crystalline. So your crystalline solid means a solid whose constituent particles are arranged in a definite order. Example I said for this kind of crystalline solid, that is table salt. For example, NaCl. Okay, NaCl, if you observe correctly, no, you will see that sodium is there, then you find chlorine, then you find sodium, then chlorine, like this. Okay, so they have a correct arrangement of this sodium and chlorine, one after the other. Okay, such type of solids come under crystalline. And then second one I said, the second classification we are having, that is amorphous solid. Okay, so in the amorphous solid, if you observe this picture, you understand that these particles are not in a correct order. Okay, there is no proper arrangement of the particles. So here these particles which are there, they don't have a definite order arrangement. Okay, then such will be called as amorphous. Here constituent particles are not arranged in a correct order. Example I said is rubber. Rubber is one such example. Then we have plastic, even glass. Okay, glass also come under amorphous solid. If you observe the particles inside them, they don't have a correct arrangement. Okay, organized arrangement of particles you will not be able to find in them. Clear now? Now you have got to know what are the two different kinds of solid, crystalline and amorphous. Okay, now we are going to study in detail what are the different characteristics we have for crystalline as well as for amorphous. Okay, this difference can be asked in your exam. Okay, it's one of the important topic from this particular chapter. So you can make two columns, students, when you're writing the characteristic. One column you make for crystalline, other column you can make for amorphous, and write down the point one after the other. Okay. So I'm starting with the first characteristics for crystalline as well as for amorphous. Okay. So the first one, see this picture, okay, for crystalline solid which I've put. So if you observe this picture, can you tell me what you find here? Not the this thing part. Okay, you can see here, these atoms are there, no? They have a correct arrangement. And you see this particular pattern which is there. Yeah, it is getting repeated one after the other. Yeah, hexagonal pattern they are having, correct, no? This is a hexagonal kind of pattern. Patterns can be different. Okay, different kind of solids will have different arrangement. So here you can see this particular arrangement which is there. Okay, it's getting repeated and they have a correct geometrical shape. So, and if you observe the amorphous, you see the other one. Okay, you observe the amorphous, you find that these particles which are there, okay, there is no correct arrangement of the particles. Okay, they don't have a proper kind of a geometry. They may be having, but maybe one or the two kind of arrangements will be similar. After that they are getting disordered. Okay, so first thing what we are having for this, the first characteristics, that crystalline, if you observe, they have a correct geometrical shape. Okay, and that shape is getting repeated one after the other. Whereas amorphous, if you are observing, they don't have a correct shape. It's an irregular shape one. Okay, asymmetric ones. Yes. Okay. So that is the first difference. For crystalline, they have a definite characteristic geometrical shape. Okay. Whereas these amorphous, they don't have a correct geometrical shape. Okay. They have a irregular shape. You can write they don't have a correct geometrical shape. That also will be correct. Okay. And second one, yeah, diamond is also crystalline. Correct. Diamond has a correct geometrical arrangement. No. So it gets repeated one after the other. So they come under crystalline solid actually. And these arrangement which I told you, no, that is getting repeated after one after the other. It is getting repeated throughout the crystal. Okay, so then we say they possess a long range order. Okay, long range order means if this particular pattern which is there, if that is getting repeated continuously throughout the crystal. Okay, so then we call them as they possess long range order. Whereas amorphous, I told you, that pattern which is there can get repeated once or twice. Okay, it is not that they don't have an order. They have an order, but then that order doesn't get repeated throughout the crystal. Maybe once or twice you will have that same arrangement, but then afterwards you see that the arrangement are different. Okay, so then such type of crystals, we say they have a short range order. They possess short range order. Okay, So first point I told you, they have a definite geometrical shape. And the second point for crystalline, and for amorphous they have irregular shape. Second point is they possess a long range order. Long range order means what? Just now I explained that this pattern which is there, this arrangement of the particles, that is getting repeated throughout the crystal. Okay, then we call them as long range order. Okay, this is the definition for long range order. And short range order means the pattern which is there, that may get repeated once or twice, but throughout the crystal you don't find that particular pattern. Okay, here and there once or twice it is getting repeated. Okay, so that regular pattern you don't find for throughout the crystal, you find only for a short distance. Okay, it is observed only for a short distance, then it is called as short range order. Okay, so write this down. You can write this as first point. Okay, they have definite characteristic geometrical shape. This you write as first point. Okay, for both. And this will be your second point. They possess long range order. Here they possess short range order. Within the bracket you write what is long range and what is short range. Okay, this I have given here. In the box which I have given here, that is the definition for long range and short range. So that comes under second point itself. Okay, that you write down in the bracket. Okay, let's continue with the next one. Okay, we have discussed with two characteristics. Next characteristic is for crystalline as well as for amorphous. Now, if I take crystalline solid, okay, you can see here, these are the atoms. One you can see they are green in color and the other one you can see they are pink in color. I hope you are able to see this picture. Okay, so these are the constituent particles which are present. One is of one kind and one is of the another kind. Okay, now if you are measuring the physical properties for this particular crystal in different direction, okay, like for example refractive index, thermal conductivity, okay, so these are the physical properties if you want to measure for this particular crystal. Okay, suppose if you're going to measure that particular property, okay, along this direction. Okay, now here in this particular direction, you can find only these green color particles. So that means the value what you are going to get, that value you will be getting only for these atoms. Okay, this green color atoms which are there, only for these atoms you will be getting that particular value. Imagine you are measuring refractive index. Okay, so if you are measuring along this direction, you will get value only for this, correct? No, now suppose if you are measuring in this particular direction, in this direction, then you will be able to get only this particles, the green, this one, pink one you can see over here. Okay, so only this particular particles will show you the value. Okay, but if you're measuring that in this particular direction, you can see the arrow mark I've taken over here, then you have combination of both the particles present here. The green one is also there and the pink one is also there. Okay, so what do you think will happen to the values? Will you get same values over here? What do you think? Will the values be same? If you're going to measure in this direction, if you measuring in this direction and the other direction, means x axis, y axis and z axis. If I'm measuring the physical properties in different direction, will I be getting the same answer? No, right? I will not get the same answer, correct? Yeah, you will not get, because here this only green color particles will be giving you the value. Whereas in this direction, only the pink ones will be giving you value. Whereas in the other direction, you will get combination of both. So you will get different values in different direction, okay, for different physical properties. So then we call them as anisotropic in nature. This particular crystals are called as anisotropic, okay. Anisotropic means they don't give you same values in different direction. Okay, they give you different values in different direction. Okay, so it is also defined as the physical properties like conductivity, refractive index. They give you different values when measured along different direction. Okay, now come to this amorphous solid. If I take amorphous solid, you know the particles are randomly arranged. There is no correct arrangement, order arrangement of the particles. Okay, so we say no, it's a truss here. So if I am going to measure the physical property for this particular amorphous solid, let me take in this direction, I will get, see, 3 green color particles are there and 1 pink one I will get. Okay, and this particular direction again I will get, end up getting 3 green and one pink I'm getting. Okay, in the other direction also it's almost the same, because the particles are randomly arranged, almost same I'm saying. You will not get exactly same. Okay, imagine if you are measuring the refractive index, one will give you 1.5, one will give you 1.51, 1.52, like this, almost the same. Okay, so almost same values you'll be getting for the amorphous solid, whereas here no, here if you're going to measure the refractive index, one answer may be 1.4, one may be 1.5, one may be 1.6. So see, you are getting different values. Okay, so that is what anisotropic is. Different values you are getting, but here almost same values you are getting, so they are called as isotropic in nature. Okay, isotropic means when you are measuring the physical properties, that can be either conductivity means either electrical conductivity or thermal conductivity, or refractive index. So these will give you almost the same values when they are measured in different direction. Okay, so that is called as isotropic. I believe you have understood. If not, just let me know. I will repeat once again. Did you follow what is anisotropic and what is isotropic? If you want, I'll repeat once again. Anisotropic means when you are measuring this physical property in different directions. Okay, since the particles are different along different direction, you get different values. Okay, then it is called as anisotropic in nature. But in the amorphous case, you know, particles are randomly arranged. So if you are going to take any particular direction, you end up getting almost the same values. Okay, because particles are randomly arranged, so you don't get same kind of particles. Same kind of atoms are not there, different kinds of atoms you will get, so almost the same values you will be getting. So they are called as isotropic in nature. Now, do you have to ask anything, students, for whatever I've done today? Is there any doubt for whatever has been done till now? Just let me know. Did you follow?